Hello everybody, my name is Oliver G. This is Lena Norden G.
Hello.
We're going to be talking to you on this episode of the Eiffel Tower about the Provence region of France, even though we're in Paris.
Yeah, we are. And it's a beautiful October day in Paris. And finally, I feel like the sun has come out, which is very exciting. But enough about that.
Enough about Paris. Forget
because
Paris.
We are talking about Provence.
That's exactly right. So what we're going to be doing is giving you the 5 golden rules for visiting this beautiful region of France. If you're listening to this as a podcast episode, it should be just a regular podcast episode. But if you're watching, you'll see us walking from the delightful Back in Black Cafe.
Exactly.
In the 11th arrondissement and walking down to the Seine River. But really, it's a walk show. We're walking and talking, walking in Paris, talking about France.
That's what we're doing.
So far, so good?
I think so.
This episode is brought to you by My Private Paris. They do walking tours, they do travel itineraries, they're a boutique travel agency. And at the end of this episode, you'll hear Marie Segura from My Private Paris talk about Notre Dame and when it's going to reopen. So enough about Paris for now. Shall we switch to Provence?
I think so.
What I think really is important when talking about Provence is defining it.
What is it? What is Provence to you?
It's mystical.
It's mystical.
It's majestic. It's kind of...
No, but really, what is it? Do you have something like actual tangible point?
Sure, it's everything. I mean, south of France, basically.
Yeah.
It's everything east of Avignon over to Italy and down to the Riviera, basically. Mm-hmm. The tricky thing is that when you talk about the Riviera, when you talk about Nice and Marseille and stuff like that, it's not really... it's not really Provence.
No.
You wouldn't say I'm going down to Provence.
And then you just
I'm going
end up
swimming
hanging out in Nice.
Monaco.
Yeah, no.
It's more. What comes to your mind when you say Provence?
Well, for me, Provence is like these lavender fields. It's olives. It's food. It's rolling hills. It's kind of that's the vibe.
Creatives.
Yeah,
a dim sort of
exactly
muted light. Yeah, and a windy mistral.
Definitely windy.
Exactly.
Certainly this time of year.
And practically it's getting there 3 hours south of Paris on the train.
Yeah.
You could fly down to Marseille or Nice as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could drive there in probably 6 hours.
5-6 hours, yeah.
So now that we've got there, we're going to talk about our 5 golden rules of how to visit. And the first one that I've written down is to adjust your sense of time.
Mm-hmm. And we don't necessarily mean like reset your clocks, which you could, I guess. But no, this is more like adjust to the local time.
And this isn't just a different Paris
schedule.
Either.
Yeah, exactly. Just take it easy.
Talk about more. What do you mean?
Well, I feel like you have to adjust a lot of places, especially in the smaller villages. They close for lunch.
Yeah. We went to Apt.
Yeah.
So the first place we can actually talk about, we went to Apt last week. APT, really beautiful. Beautiful name even, but a beautiful little town. And what they had that was kind of weird was every single shop we saw closed.
Yeah, so we came there at lunchtime, and it's very, very sweet, and it has all these pastel-colored buildings, and it's great. But I felt like, is this it? I thought it would be a bit more lively, and I didn't realize that it was lunchtime.
We thought it was
closed. So it was like a little bit of a ghost town. It was a little bit like a ghost town.
It felt like even the restaurants were reluctantly open.
Yes, they were like, ooh, lunch. I don't know.
Yeah, we came a bit late too, and they're like, ooh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's not just that. It's like if you go to some of the smaller villages of Provence.
Yeah.
We've done this. We arrived late into a town or a village, and we're like, is there a restaurant in there? And they're like, they're all closed. It's 9 p.m.,
But here are some eggs and some bread from my pantry.
I'm glad you said that.
People are friendly.
Yes.
People are super friendly.
You're referring to our honeymoon trip.
Yeah, I'm a little
so we
bit.
went to Provence on our honeymoon as well, and we on the most budget trip anyone's ever gone to Provence.
Ridiculous.
Which, looking back, is not necessarily the best way to do it. But
well, it was an adventure.
Okay, so adjust your time, and that also means maybe become a bit of a morning person. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of markets that you need to think about.
Yeah, definitely, and they don't go on for very long.
That's the thing.
I feel like 2:00 is the general cutoff for markets.
Yeah.
So yeah, get there early. Also, the best bits always go in the beginning. So
true.
Hot tip: go early.
There's a really good segue between that first point, that first golden rule, and the second golden rule.
Oh yeah.
Which is, it's going to sound weird. Bring a 50. Have a 50 in your pocket.
In your glove glove.
in your glove compartment. Keep a 50 on you. And what I
What
mean...
does that mean?
What I mean by that
you
is...
need to be armed? Is that so awful?
No. I mean, keep a 50 euro note. And I wish I'd heard this episode before I went down there, even the most recent time, because cash is king.
You definitely need cash. This is not Paris anymore, and we will touch on this point a few times, but especially, I feel like Paris has really kind of got modernized after COVID. A lot of card payments, like card is accepted everywhere. There's no real minimum.
It used to be hard
or the minimum is very, very low.
It used to be hard to buy a croissant in Paris with your card.
Yeah.
Now it would be very normal, I think.
Yeah.
But in the south, a couple of examples. Like I was going to say bring cash, but then people were like, how much cash? I think 50, a 50...
50 you get
two
far.
20s and a 10
as
well.
Yeah, you get it.
A 50 could throw people a little bit. But what I'm saying is, we went to one, I'll give an example. I think you got an example too. We went to a pizza, I'm going to call them out, pizza restaurant in Ile-sur-le-Sorgue. And we sat down, they didn't say anything was amiss. We sat down, ordered 2 pizzas and drinks, and then the bill came for, I don't know, 30, 40 euros. And they said, oh no, so you can't pay with card. What are you doing? And I said, well...
What are you doing?
What do you want me to do? And they said, you got to go to an ATM. They said, you got to go to an ATM, you got to write a check, or you can make a bank transfer.
That's what they said.
That's what they said. And I was like, all right, well.
Well, I won't be doing that, good sir.
I said, I'll get some cash out, but I only brought my phone with a contactless payment option. So
had to run home to
I had to go home to get a card, and then go to the ATM to get cash to pay for the pizzas.
I mean, it does seem a bit medieval.
Do you want to call out someone as well?
I forgot. Who am I calling out?
I don't remember what it was, but it was in Bouzigues.
Oh, yes. I was just going to go. It was just a little tabac. So Bouzigues is a small sort of resort town down towards the west coast of France. It's definitely...
Still Provence, I think.
Yeah.
Right on the edge.
Right on the edge. You might get away with it.
Yeah.
But so it's definitely off season. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it, but I needed to buy a bottle of water, and I only had card, and I came to the cash point to pay, and he kind of grumpily pointed to a sign saying, carte bancaire minimum 16 euros.
That's a record.
I was like, no way. So yeah, there you go, 16 euros.
So, I mean, you could say that the minimum you need isn't 50, but 16.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But it's true, it's not just for the shops that we mentioned, but it's also in the marketplaces. If you're buying foods, antiques in some of those antique towns down there. When I say antique towns, I mean the old towns that sell antiques. It's a double. I'm doing a double.
Yeah, well,
but
nice one.
yeah, you got to bring 50, I think.
I think so.
Not necessarily the same in Paris anymore, I don't think.
Not really, no.
I think you can get away with just a mobile telephone. Speaking of mobile telephone, I'm going to look at mine because we got 3 more golden rules. Oh yeah, this one. Get wheels.
Get wheels.
You got to get wheels.
Okay.
This is the same. We did a similar episode about the Riviera, and it's kind of the same. It's similar, but also different. In the Riviera, I'm talking about like all the coastal towns. You need wheels because sometimes what looks like a little walk is actually a really long walk, but a short drive, and so on.
Yeah, and a lot of the roads aren't actually super walkable.
Exactly. But here it's a little bit different because in Provence, there are some places that are only accessible on wheels, I think. And I'm going to give a shout out to Buiux. Buiux. I think it's nice that we give a few shout outs to some places that we actually have been to.
Especially not these major ones. I like it.
Yeah, Beyond Avignon.
Yeah.
That could be the subtitle for this episode.
Beyond Avignon.
Buiux. So this is one of the smallest towns that there is, villages, but it's like a mecca for rock climbing. And we were with it.
Especially back in the 80s, apparently.
Yeah. I think,
according to
an
expert, and the expert in this case is my own father.
Yeah, but probably, you know what, I was looking into the history of Provence, and I read, this is as a little aside, but to put some sort of sense into how old it is.
Sure.
They found tools, like human-made tools, from 1 million years ago.
1 million?
1.05 million is what it said, which sounds insane.
It's hard to kind of get your head around that.
But if you think about Buiux, where we went, there's a ancient wall of rock there in Buiux that people have been climbing on forever. And it's so impossible to reach on foot, I'd say.
I mean, there are no signs.
Even on bike, it would be pretty hard.
It's impossible.
Because it's like these long, winding, dangerous. I say dangerous because, especially if you're, like if you've got a rental car and you're not very used to it, there's only really room for one car down there.
Yeah, but it was, talk about adventure. That really felt like a bit of an adventure.
And I think, of course, places like that are far from the only little pearl of
definitely. And now I just have to stress this. I mean, if you are looking for, cute little villages to go and visit and explore and have a bite to eat, Buchs is not for you because it's literally nothing. I think it's 3 houses.
We passed it in a blink, but that's not, people go there for the rock climbing, I think.
It's all about the rock climbing.
Incidentally, I don't want to go too far into Buchs here, but even if you're not into rock climbing, it was a pretty fascinating little place with these like abandoned,
it really was.
Seemingly fairly recently totally abandoned buildings all over the place that I guess sort of hippies and rock climbers have taken over the past 30, 40 years. Anyhow, get wheels. It's good to be able to get through all the different towns at the same time because there's an awful lot to see. Let's get on to the last 2 or 3 points here.
Sure.
Here's an unusual one. Don't put Paris on a pedestal.
Now, what do you mean by that?
This is maybe the first time anyone suggested this for Provence, I think. I think when you come to the south of France, or when you come to France in general, I think a lot of people sort of conflate the idea of it's this one big country and Paris is part of it. I've said it before, Paris isn't France and France isn't Paris.
Yeah, it's like its own little entity.
Exactly. So we're walking past a tour boat here, I think.
I think so. Should we jump on it?
Maybe he's talking about Provence as well.
Maybe.
We'll ignore him for now.
Sure.
So, people...
Paris, pedestal.
Yeah, and even so, we live in Paris. When we went down there a couple of times, I was talking about Paris to shopkeepers or bartenders or whatever, and it didn't hit.
It did not resonate
Why are you
at
talking
all.
about Paris?
They're like, we avoid Paris. We want to live here. It's a whole different vibe around there.
Now I'm going to go down some stairs.
Okay. All right, let's see what we can do here.
If you can hear the guy in the background, it's one of the canal boats that goes all the way down the locks, which I did on a birthday once. It was really lovely. But back down to the south of France, putting Paris on a pedestal is a mistake, and I think I did it a few times. Like, people talk to us and they say, "Where are you from?" People were so friendly, and I was like, "Oh, I'm Australian." And they go, "Oh, you speak great French." I go, "Oh yeah, I live in Paris." And they go, "Oh."
They're like, "Oh, ew."
Okay, well, I don't want anything to do with Paris. And I remember, I'm not exaggerating here, I remember when we were on our honeymoon going around the whole country, it shocked me at first how much people didn't care for Paris.
Yeah.
And said, like, I have no intention of going there.
Yeah, and you're
I'd
like,
be like,
why?
Don't you want to see the museums, for example? Oh yeah, maybe once. And so, I think, it sounds kind of weird to say, but as a sort of respect for the rest of the country, you don't need to, if you're a tourist, you don't need to say, "Oh, I love it down here. I just spent 6 days in Paris. It was magical." Skip Paris. Don't put it on a pedestal. I don't mean skip it. Visit it by all means, but don't talk about it.
Put Provence on a pedestal?
Exactly. Talk about what you're gonna do.
It's kind of like seize the day,
Seize the day.
Yeah, enjoy where you are, live in the moment.
Carpe
blah,
diem.
blah, blah.
Carpe diem. I'm glad you brought that up. A little bit of Latin.
Oh, really?
Because I actually looked into.
What's the segue?
I don't know if I'm going to get it right, but the reason it's called Provence is because it was initially called something like Romanus Provincia.
Really?
Because it was the first Roman province on this side of the Alps.
I believe it.
You had no choice. So there's the fact that we didn't know we were getting.
Yeah.
I got more tips here.
Okay.
2 more.
2 more.
Think seasonal.
Definitely.
When I put the question to the Patreon members, I said, we're doing an episode about Provence. What do you want us to cover? Seasonal. The 2 big takeaways were the time of year to visit and whether you can get there with or without car.
Yeah.
But the seasonal thing is huge. I think a lot of people are sort of concerned about it because obviously, like with the Riviera, there's 2 or maybe 3 months that are
the high season.
The high season,
for sure. Well, which is the summer months.
Yeah, and when you compare it to Paris, which is sort of perpetually in bloom,
it's evergreen, isn't it?
Yeah. It can be a little bit scary. So let's talk through. We've gone there, I think, in every month of the year. It feels like. We were there just now in October, and
we got extremely lucky. I feel.
I jumped in the sea.
Yeah.
I literally was jumping in the sea in October.
I mean, we had some windy days, and I think that's what you got to look out for in the autumn. If you're a bit sensitive to wind, it will be windy. But for me, just going back to what Provence is for you and what you kind of connected with, I think lavender fields is a big thing for a lot of people. And the lavender fields, that is not evergreen.
That's March till early August.
Yeah, exactly.
March till early August is the lavender. I never went frolicking in the lavender yet.
No, me neither, because we have actually always missed it.
Yeah, I've seen, we've driven past it at one point.
And that, I mean, it is important with the season, because even though we know, I never really think about it, so we missed it.
So I think I looked on the tourist board for Provence, and they said they have 300 days of sunshine. The Mistral that we've referenced, which is a big strong wind, they say it blows away the clouds and leaves 300 sunny days a year, which
I like that. That is good PR.
I kind of find it hard to believe as well.
Mistral.
I don't know if it's true, but it sounds really lovely that it's that warm.
Sure.
But basically, I think they say March till the end of November, you can get away with a good visit. Winter, I bet we've been there too in the winter, it's very dead and it's not at all the vibe that you really expect this sort of,
No, not this like, dinners outside under the olive trees, none of that, I guess, but you can still enjoy it, of course. And a lot of people prefer the off season. I kind of do, actually.
I think I'm going to put you on the spot as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to put myself on the spot.
All right, go for it.
If you had to go down there for 2 weeks, any time of year, what would it be?
End of September.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks of September.
Yeah.
I think that is perfect when it's like after the rentrée, which is like back to school for all the kids, all the people start working, you have the juilletistes au...
Haussien.
Yeah, that one.
That's the... you're going to have to explain that. The juilletistes and the Haussien is a pretty...
It's a
wild
French
concept.
It's a very French thing.
In France, you're basically in one of two camps. You either take your summer holiday for the whole of July, making you a juilletiste, like a Julaier.
Julaier.
You can define yourself like this. I'm a Julaier. I take July off and
That's
I go.
That's who I am.
Yeah, and usually you go somewhere else in France, or you're an Augusta, an Haussien. Impossible to pronounce. Haussien.
And especially August in Paris, so dead.
Yeah.
Usually.
Well, it's because everyone is up in the north or the south of France. So that's the other thing. You can time it if time is on your side, I guess. If you got a long holiday, you could time it so you come to Paris when it's empty and then go down to Provence after, like you said, in September to make sure that's empty as well. So I don't know.
How about you?
I lean towards the same, I think. Maybe
really?
I like summer, so maybe a little bit earlier, but I would personally not go on season because...
No. Also, it can get very hot.
Yeah,
like
true.
heat wave hot.
Yeah, too hot.
Yeah.
Especially if you're from a country where you like to have air conditioning.
Yeah, I know that.
You might not be too happy. We've done 5 points. I've got the 6th one here. Don't be too ambitious. There's a big region, and I think we said this. This is one of the ones that I was inspired by our Riviera list. But I think it will be easy to. I've met people who said this. They say, I'm going to Provence for 3 days. I'm going to 28 towns.
Yeah, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go... I was going to say bullfighting, but that's got nothing to do with anything.
Bullfight watching?
Yeah.
It could be
maybe. But yeah, totally agree.
There's a risk in trying to do too much because, similar to how we said, you got to adjust your pace.
Yeah.
When you go down there, you're not rushing about. No one's rushing about.
No.
And you're going to stick out like a sore thumb if you go down there and just run through everywhere and say, I got to get to the next place, It'll be like you haven't seen it at all.
Yeah.
There's some towns down there, like Avignon, really deserves a proper look.
Well, that's a city.
That's a city.
That's big.
And if
I think we're talking about the little towns. You can definitely, tick off.
We could controversially call them 1 hour towns. I've said similar. Regular listeners to the show will know what I'm talking about.
Some people take offense.
Yeah, but there are definitely some 1 hour villages down there.
Yeah.
But if you look at like to drop some names of some places that we went, like Ile-sur-le-Sorgue again, or even Apt. Kind of wild, but I think you could do it in an hour.
I think so. I mean,
you could have it as a lunch stopover.
If you focus on the old part of the towns, which is usually, to be fair, like where you want to go as a tourist, that they're usually small.
Yeah.
Yeah, not many little roads, and you can easily
So I'm kind of contradicting myself saying that, yeah.
Okay, well...
But you know what I mean? You can do it. It is possible to do it quick, but then you're doing it wrong. It's cheating.
Yeah.
It's like skim reading books.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, I
think recently you said like Europe is not a checklist. I went bigger and bigger there. Paris, France, Europe. It's not a checklist.
That's a good way of phrasing it, actually.
Yeah.
Provence is not a checklist.
No.
I think it's totally legit to,
It's a verb. I don't know.
It's a state of mind. I think if you go down there and you spend some time down there and really get to know the places and find where you want to go back, I think you'll appreciate it more than if you just whiz through stopping all over the place. Okay.
I think that's a good tip.
I think now what I'd like to do is point out for the people watching on YouTube, if you've been listening to this as just an audio episode, I recommend you go check on YouTube, because what we've been doing while we've been walking is we walked down through Bastille, we took the ramp down into the old Bassin de l'Arsenal. And I think a lot of people don't realize that you can do this really lovely walk. We've got the column of the Bastille right behind us. To this side, you got all the flood markers showing where the Seine River has flooded. And then
there's a lot of them.
Our own video guy, who lives in Paris, told me he's never been to the bit we're about to cross. That's why I'm switching to visual for a second, because there's a little ramp going over the bassin, the water, into a little tunnel that leads out to the Seine.
This feels like we're ducking into the underground here, or going in where we shouldn't be going, but
I think
totally fine, totally legal.
I think even if you're listening to this episode and not watching, I think it's worth me pointing out that it's 100% worth doing this walk, because I think it's one of the loveliest walks. Definitely one of the most underrated walks in Paris is coming along the Bassin through this weird little tunnel that spits us out into the Seine. If you're listening to this episode, always worth checking out the YouTube channel, which we're really building up now, experimenting with bringing the walk shows back. If you are just listening and you're thinking of Provence, you're dreaming of Provence, let me spell something out for you. I think it is totally worth adding a week of your itinerary in France to Provence. I think it's very overlooked. I also sense it's kind of getting even more popular lately.
I think so too. It's having a bit of a revival.
My anecdotal evidence is suggesting to me that people are going to start going down there an awful lot more.
Very exciting.
But they were our 5 or maybe 6 golden rules for visiting Provence.
Yeah.
Are there places that you still haven't gone that you want to go down there? The lavender.
The lavender, for sure.
Yeah.
And I also would like to see some olive oil being made. That would be very cool, as on my list. How about you? Do you have any?
Me too. I would like to go into, we went to, it sounds like Saint-Rémy de Provence and these beautiful little ones that we've talked about before. I would like to go and spend maybe 2 weeks walking through the whole district. Like hiking. You know, people do a lot of the hiking?
Yes.
Something that we've never done.
Good. Oh, another thing, I'd like to paint.
Yeah.
I'd like to actually paint, because every time we go there, there's no time. So that's kind of, connecting back to what we said before. Just take the time.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Dare to discover, get out there and see more. And speaking of daring to discover, for those of you who are watching us, we've just finished the walk through the secret tunnel. We're out at the Seine River. If you look that way, you've got the Notre Dame.
Beautiful.
And I think what we can finish on is by saying thank you for watching this episode of the Eiffel Tower. Hang around for a bit from Marie Segura from My Private Paris, talking about the Notre Dame. Otherwise, enjoy your trips to Provence.
Ciao.
Marie from My Private Paris, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm excited. I'm excited because I can feel change in the air, and it's about Notre Dame.
Yay!
Tell me, do you remember, I mean, of course you remember, where were you when it was burning down?
Yeah, I was watching it. I was crying and watching it from Ile Saint-Louis.
You were on the Ile Saint-Louis?
Yeah, just on the quay of Ile Saint-Louis. So,
which side?
When you look at Notre Dame on the left. So, yeah.
Oh, you were down there by the, okay, so you had a really good view.
You know the swans are always there, so that's
and
where
a weird stone turtle is there now, or a tortoise. What is that, by the way? Do you know?
I have no idea.
That's so unusual. Huh?
But yeah, I was there, and it's
wow,
actually...
you were at a great place to see it.
It's actually my one of, my friend was calling the firemen when he saw the smoke. So he was one of the first to have called the firemen.
Wow.
Because they are living on Ile Saint-Louis, so yeah.
Wow. I mean, that must have been...
Yeah, that was very, like everyone, I was really in shock. And so he sent me the very first picture with the smoke, and I was kind of laughing like, oh, what's going on? That this is weird. But I never thought that an hour later, this will be transforming into the actual fire.
So you must have been there early as well, because they closed everything off. You couldn't get to that island after a couple hours. Yeah. Wow. Did you take pictures as well?
Did we? Maybe we did a little bit, but I think it was more, we were just more holding each other, and people were praying and singing
hymns and stuff.
And we were just like, and I remember at one point, one of the firemen was saying, out loud, he was saying, okay, we need to go to the North Tower. If not, it's going to be collapsing. And if we don't save the North Tower, everything's going to collapse. And we were just like, we're holding our breath. And
wow.
So, it was a very intense night until the end, let's say, of the night. We were just hoping for the best, which happened. It didn't collapse, so that was
the best is surely December 8th.
Yes.
So I find that there's a lot of mystery around this. I think they said they wanted to open it for the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more the government that say they wanted to open it for the Olympics, but straight away the team that was in charge of the reconstruction said we need more time to make things, safe and beautiful as it used to be. They work. I mean, I'm amazed. Like all of Parisian, like it's incredible the work they made in only 4-5 years only.
How do you even estimate that? Like, imagine they're like, you need to restore Notre Dame that burned. How long is it going to take? And they just said 5 years.
It's incredible. I mean, the Notre Dame was built in about 200 years.
Yeah.
And now in 5 years, I mean, I know it's only the roof, but still, I mean, this is just, to me, it's so impressive. I'm looking forward to see what is inside now. Yeah. Because the outside we can see a little bit.
Have you got any, with your connections, any way of getting in there before it opens?
No, but you know what? I'm okay to wait a little bit more. I'm okay to wait until the mass, because I think also it needs to be probably, I mean, I don't want to see it with still, work going on.
It's like arriving to a dinner party too early.
Yeah, I want them to be ready, to be all beautiful for us.
Fair enough. Well, tell us, can you walk us through the official thing? 8th of December is a mass.
So there is this big mass open to everyone. So that's going to be on the 8th.
That's going to be a hot ticket. No one's going to get into that.
I think most of the people will be outside on the parvis, and I hope they're going to put those screens so we can follow what's going on inside.
But even that, it'll be crazy busy.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a big... Yeah. I want to be there. I want to see that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so then there's that mass, and then what? December 9th, it's open to everybody again?
So that's the thing they're not really clear about. Yeah. So we need to see... maybe they also want to see, how it goes with the 8th, but normally... They say that it's going to be at the beginning of the 2025 that it's going to be reopened in a daily basis. I'm sure that during Christmas also they're going to do like special events. But for now, they really called on the groups that they don't want the people to come like 20 people at a time. So they say it's not going to be, for groups, it's not going to be until, April, maybe May, right. Just to be sure the people are coming here for praying mostly and for the spirituality, and a bit less for just taking pictures and videos, basically.
What about, you're talking to people around the world, many who maybe are coming to Paris before December 8th. What's the best way to experience Notre Dame right now?
You can still go very close to it. They built those, maybe you've been there, those stairs, like you can go on the top.
Bleachers.
So you can really see Notre Dame from, from different various angles. We should just go around the island, and you can still enjoy the presence, let's say, of Notre Dame, even if you not go inside. And for the people that are really frustrated, and I understand, to not be able to go in, I will definitely say go to Sainte-Chapelle. It's just right by, Notre Dame. It has been made in the same kind of time. So it's interesting to see the stained glasses there. So I would say, go for the outside of Notre Dame and jump in Sainte-Chapelle to make a full experience.
There you go. You heard it from Marie Segura from My Private Paris. More from you soon.
Yes, with pleasure.
Thank you. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.